Hello my friends, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about all the things that you're going to need to do in order to apply on a family or spousal visa here in the UK. If you are new here, you may not know, I am Canadian and I now live in Bristol. My husband is from England, I am from Canada, so there obviously was some visas that we needed to apply on in order for me to legally stay here. So if you find yourself in this situation, buckle up, sit tight, take notes, because there are some things that you are going to need to know well in advance to getting your family visa or your spousal visa, etc. So let me get into the video, but if you haven't subscribed yet, I would highly suggest you doing so, because I have a whole playlist of things that you will need to know or situations that you might find yourself in if you are a Canadian or even, let's be real, an American in the UK. Let's get into the video. So the first thing that I want to talk about is when you are applying on your family or spousal visa. It might even be called a common law visa. I know there's no such thing as common law here in the UK. However, you can be considered common law if you have lived with your partner for 2 years. That's a whole different story about the things that you'll have to prove for that, but it is a thing. So I didn't have all the requirements to prove that we could be common law, so we got married. I have a whole video about why I didn't want to live with Paul before marriage that I'll have linked right here for you. So for me personally, marriage was always the route that I wanted to take with these things, and that was a conversation that I had with Paul very early on. So that being said, we did get married. From before I even moved over here, we knew we would get married around a certain time frame if everything within our relationship went all right. With that being said, we did not do what we would have needed to do in order to prove common law, and that was okay with us because we knew we would get married. That being said, when you are going to apply on your common law visa or your spousal visa or your family visa, whatever it is that it is called for you, I think it's called a family visa, but all of these attributes, like all of these different types of relationships, fall under the category of family visa, but don't quote me on that. I'll link the type of visa in the description box for you. However, you do not need to have the decision on your visa that you're applying on before your current visa expires. So for example, my visa expired January 21st, 2020. I just needed to have my application in by that date. I did not need the approval by that date. So that is something that you will need to know, because I was worried that I was going to get deported. I had a friend here that was worried about that. She was going to overstay her welcome and be deported, because that's one of the things that you have to answer on the form. Have you ever overstayed your welcome here? And she was going to go back home to Canada while she processed her visa, but it's actually more expensive if you do it that way. So just know, if you are applying on another visa, you just need to have the application in before your current visa expires. Once that application is in, you are still legally able to stay here. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, maybe I could just get a fiance visa and buy myself a little bit more time. But the key word that I just said there is buy a little bit more time. If you get a fiance visa is only for 6 months. However, you are not able to work during that time. So you can then buy that visa and buy yourself a little bit more time. However, there's kind of no point in doing that, because you're just wasting money when you could just apply on the like family visa, the spousal visa, or the common law visa, and still be able to work and still be able to stay here. So that's personally why we didn't go the route of a fiance visa and to wait 6 more months. And honestly, thank God, maybe like someone was looking out for us that we didn't wait any longer, because we were in a pandemic, and if we had waited 6 months longer, we wouldn't have been able to get married. And then what? I know so many people. I'm in a group called Canadians in the UK, and there were so many people who were like in a stupid situation where they were overstaying on their visa, or they didn't have anywhere to go, or they were like breaking the law because of, you know, they were supposed to get married, or visa applications and stuff like that, and this pandemic. So I'm glad that we went the route that we did, and it just financially didn't make sense to pay for a visa that would only last for 6 months that you weren't allowed to work on when you could just get married, when we were going to get married anyways. So if you are going to apply on the common law or spousal or family visa, whatever it is that you want to call it, just know that you are going to have to provide some type of paperwork, a lot of paperwork, being quite honest with you. You're going to have to apply with how long you've been living together. You're going to have to prove with how long you've been living together. You're going to have to show pieces of mail that has your same address on it meant you are going to have to show photos. Paul had to get a letter from his employer. We had to then show bank accounts. We then had to show marriage photos, like wedding photos and stuff. We also had to show that there was a monetary requirement that was met. So Paul, that was also included in his letter, that he made the amount of money that he needed to make in order to sponsor me to be here. So the only reason why we went the route of Paul sponsoring me is because I am self-employed and I didn't do a tax return by that point, so I couldn't prove what I make. So our solicitor told us we don't even need to go that route. We don't even need to tell them that you're self-employed, because Paul made way more than what was even required for him to sponsor me to live here. So we just went that route. Now, if you are doing the common law thing, I believe you just have to show that you were living together for a consecutive 2-year period. I wasn't living here for a consecutive 2-year period. I came here in January, then I went back to Canada for 3 months, and then I came back here, and then I wasn't put on a council tax bill till the following year later. So again, that's where when we got married, we just made our case a lot more solidified, even though we had been together for the time that was required. Now, the other thing that I do think is worth noting in this video is that even though you're married, you still need a visa, obviously, with what we've been talking about. But also, even though you're married, that doesn't like really entitle you to anything. Like, a lot of people seem to think like otherwise. Being married does not entitle you to just everything. And I think sometimes maybe people making assumptions about your relationship, they just think that you're getting married to be entitled to all these things. But just so you know, you still will have to pay for NHS even though you're married. So factor that into your budget. And I believe that fee goes up every single year. And then you will also still obviously need to get a visa. And so yeah, you'll need to budget for that. Now, the other thing that I want to let you guys know, I just found this out, is so when you get married, or when you apply on this visa, it's not even when you get married, because you can be common law and apply on this visa, but you have to prove that you've been living together for 2 years. Now, if you came here on the same route that I did, which is you did the Tier 5 youth mobility visa, and then you've now gone to the family visa, which is good for 2.5 years, the 2 years that you've already done does not count towards the 5 years that you need to be here in order to get indefinite leave to remain. So in actual fact, you will need to get another visa after this one. So another like almost 2,500 pounds at this moment in time. You will have to get another visa and then wait another 2.5 years, and then you can apply for your indefinite leave to remain. So that means you would have been here for a minimum of 7 years before you can apply for like any type of like permanent status. So yeah. I love when people like to assume that you just got married for like, you know, to stay here, when in actual fact, the system is set up here to kind of weed out people that are coming here for the wrong reasons or getting married for the wrong reasons. Just putting it out there. So just to reiterate that, you will have to apply for this visa twice before you can apply for your indefinite leave to remain. All right, so the next thing that I want to talk about is, this was a hard one. In 2020, this was a hard one. Even though you're married, and even though you pay taxes here, and even though you may still have to, you know, declare taxes in Canada if you have a bank account or property there, you do not get any access to any public funds. Meaning, if we're in a pandemic and you're furloughed and everybody else is getting money from the government, you will not be entitled to a single thing. Even if you pay taxes, even if your husband pays taxes, even if, you know, you pay your national insurance contributions, all of that, you will not be entitled to a single thing, because on the back of your visa, even though you're married, I love when people assume that you get married for like the wrong reasons, but even though you're married, you will not get access to any public funds. So just so you know that, like save when you can. Save in those moments where you think everything is fine and what could possibly happen, because you never know when you're gonna go into a year-long pandemic and be entitled or eligible for nothing. And I know some of you guys might be watching this thinking like, well, why should you be? But it is a hard pill to swallow when maybe there's somebody else that has moved here after, and I'm sure this is gonna be a little bit different now that Brexit is in place. But that was something, I won't joke about it anymore, that was something that was really hard for me to watch and struggle with during this pandemic, and I know a lot of other Canadians struggled with this when, you know, someone was easily able to move here from somewhere in Europe and they were entitled to a lot more than someone from the Commonwealth was entitled to. So just know that you get no public funds here, even though you pay taxes and even though you're a part of the Commonwealth. Now, the next thing that you should know about this, and again, it's really interesting when people can make assumptions about your relationship, or, you know, maybe the course of your relationship or how fast your relationship has happened, etc. So just, I'm being honest with you guys about this because, well, I think it's important to know. But just so you know, I kind of touched on this, but if you separate, you still have to, like, they will ask you on your visa if you are with the same person that you were with previously. If, like, because you know how you have to do this visa twice? You have to tell them if you're with the same person. So again, this is why it's so funny if sometimes people make, like, you know, any type of particular comments about moving to the UK and getting married and stuff, is that the system here is set up to weed out people that are in false relationships or relationships where people are just coming here for a green card or something like that. So you will have to apply again, and they will, if you separate, like, you're probably not going to be eligible to stay here. All right, so the last thing that I want to touch on in regards to applying on your, like, family visa, spousal visa, common law visa, whatever you want to call it, is that you are going to have to, like, all of the paperwork gets uploaded digitally onto their system, and then you then have to go somewhere so they can verify that paperwork. So for me personally, I wanted to send off my biometric card to get myself a British driving license. However, I couldn't send it off because I didn't know when I was going to get it back, and I didn't know if I was going to get it back in time for me to go to my appointment where I had to get my paperwork verified. So if you do need to, like, if you do need to exchange your Canadian license for a British license, do this way before your visa is expiring, because you might be in a situation like me where you've got to choose one or the other, and now here you are with no Canadian license, no British license, and you can't get an appointment to book in for an exam for about 6 months. Anyways, my friends, that is it for this video. I know it's a little bit of a longer one, but I do have a whole playlist of videos that you can choose from and watch these videos. And if you're a Canadian here in the UK, or you want to be a Canadian here in the UK, these are some of the things that I wish I knew I knew before I was in the situation, because I often find, how do you ask a question if you don't even realize it's going to be a question? And it's only through the experience of these things that I now understand, maybe I need to ask a question about this, or maybe I need to prepare differently for this, etc. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that I hope you have a smoother transition with this process than I did, and I hope you subscribe, and hope to see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye.